Over the past 30 days, the offensive pace of the Russian army in all key areas of the front has increased significantly. The advance of Russian troops is being recorded in Kursk, Kharkiv, Pokrovsk, Kurakhovo, and even Zaporizhia directions of the front. In an attempt to save the situation, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, General Alexander Syrskyi, better known as the Butcher, continues to throw unprepared forcibly mobilized Ukrainian soldiers into battle. As a result, over the past 30 days, the losses of the Ukrainian army in manpower have doubled. It is reported that from January to February 2025, the total losses of the Ukrainian army in all directions of the front amounted to 68,000 soldiers. So, a few hours ago, an officer of the Ukrainian army, Anton Cherny, harshly criticized the country's military and political leadership for the fact that the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, General Syrskyi, on the orders of the head of the Kiev regime, Volodymyr Zelensky, continues to throw into battle forcibly mobilized soldiers who have not even received special military training. We all need to admit the terrible truth. The fact is that the Ukrainian General Staff has lost all its trained reserves. All these reserves were destroyed in key directions of the front. Now, the Ukrainian General Staff is throwing unprepared mobilized soldiers to the Pokrovsk direction of the front, which is the hottest and bloodiest. In this regard, the number of dead Ukrainian soldiers and deserters continues to grow rapidly. Due to cases of mass desertion of Ukrainian soldiers and officers, the Ukrainian army has already lost 5 of its brigades, Ukrainian officer Anton Cherny said. The United States also acknowledged the significant losses suffered by the Ukrainian army in terms of personnel. A few days ago, Trump's special envoy for Ukraine and Russia, Keith Kellogg, officially announced that the Ukrainian army had suffered significantly more casualties in this war than the United States did in Vietnam and Korea combined. My dear truth seekers, let me remind you that many researchers estimate the US losses in Vietnam differently. According to conservative estimates, US losses in Vietnam amounted to 390,000 killed and 1 million wounded. However, Washington itself claims that the United States lost 58,000 killed and 184,000 wounded. Earlier, Donald Trump also touched on the topic of the Ukrainian army's heavy losses. According to him, the losses of the Ukrainian army in manpower have already amounted to 700,000 soldiers. At the same time, Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov gave completely different figures. According to him, as of February 2025, the Ukrainian army has lost more than 1 million soldiers. However, Zelensky himself, apparently under the influence of prohibited medication, continues to claim that the Ukrainian army allegedly lost about 38,000 soldiers in this war. Whatever it may be, facts are stubborn things. Unlike Ukraine, Russia continues to take control of strategically important cities and towns in the Special Military Operation Zone, even without forced mobilization. All this indicates that the Russian troops, even despite their stable offensive pace, are suffering much lower casualties in manpower than the Ukrainian army. According to official figures, as of February 2025, the total losses of the Russian army amounted to 91,000 soldiers. At the same time, it is worth considering the fact that in 3 years of fighting, the Russian army has never used its reserves. In simpler terms, unlike Ukraine, which has lost all its reserves and begun the forced mobilization of Ukrainian citizens, the Russian army's reserves are still not involved and in full combat readiness, ready to enter battle as soon as the appropriate order is received. In addition, Russia still refuses to carry out mobilization. The Russian troops stationed in Ukraine consist exclusively of professionally trained and motivated contract soldiers. Against this backdrop, it becomes clear why Vladimir Putin is in a good mood, and quite confidently answers even the most provocative questions from Western journalists. Yes, the Russian army is steadily moving forward, taking control of dozens of strategically important settlements. Almost every day, war correspondents report on another settlement liberated by the Russian army. And this fact gives Putin powerful levers of pressure on the United States and Ukraine. All this indicates that this conflict will end precisely on Russia's terms, otherwise, the Russian army will continue its victorious offensive up to the border with Poland. Ukrainian army officers also confirmed that the Russian army does not intend to halt its offensive. In particular, on February 2, during an interview with American journalists from CNN, Ukrainian army officers stated that they do not believe that Donald Trump would be able to convince Putin to stop the current conflict through the negotiation process. According to them, Vladimir Putin does not need negotiations, because the Russian army is winning on the battlefield. At the same time, the Ukrainian officers added that if Donald Trump cannot convince Putin to stop the offensive of Russian troops, then by the fall of this year the Ukrainian army will completely collapse. According to them, the forced mobilization carried out in Ukraine does not cover the Ukrainian army's losses. Moreover, there are lack of motivation among mobilized soldiers. They don't want to fight. Many of them surrender or desert. The Russians are well aware of all the Ukrainian army's problems. Unfortunately, we are retreating. They will not agree to a ceasefire and will continue to advance. Trump will not be able to stop Putin, the Ukrainian army officers stressed. The fact that Russia has no intention of stopping the offensive has also been confirmed by numerous Western think tanks. In particular, American experts from the Institute for the Study of War said that everything that happens on the battlefield indicates that Russia is preparing for long-term military operations aimed not only at the complete liberation of Donbass, but also at capturing the Dnipropetrovsk region. Currently, we are witnessing that the Russian army is preparing slow operational maneuvers on the battlefield to further advance deep into Ukrainian territory. All this indicates that Putin's military goals are of a long-term nature, and that the Russian leader is not going to enter into a negotiation process not only with Ukraine, but also with the United States, American experts said.